Welcome. So hopefully you've already seen my build video on Engineer for Open World, where I show you a flamethrower variant that is extremely potent and possibly one of my favorite ways to play. However, there is a distinct variation on that, which doesn't use the flamethrower, instead is a scrapper on the grenade kit, as you can see here. Now, grenades are really powerful for a different variety of reasons, but the build kind of requires some specific setup in terms of your options that will mess you up in other areas of the game. So on this video, I'm going to talk to you about the grenade variant, which you just might love even more. Also, a bonus clip here. If you notice, on a scrapper, this is true for the flamethrower video I did as well, you can at any time tag an ambient mob in the open world to give yourself 6,000 additional increased maximum health, or a heal of 6,000 should you be in the middle of a fight. Because you do so much damage to ambience, it converts into barrier for you. That's just a fun mechanic. We looked at it a little bit on the previous video, but I'm explaining here. So, yes, hopefully you guys have seen that other one. We're going to build on some of the knowledge we've seen from that. If not, you should be able to follow along anyway. Let's talk about scrapper grenades. And first of all, with some demonstrations of this thing in action. So opening here, we've got our pocket wrap to test with very low vitality on this particular variant here. I'm at just 12k health. These guys could eat us very quickly, but pay attention to my barrier. We always have a very good cushion, and were I on Scholar runes right now, I'm not. I'm on Chronomancer runes. I probably wouldn't be losing the buff very often, just because we get so much. It's really simple to cleave these guys down. You're going to throw 3 grenades out. Each grenade can cleave multiple targets. That's before we even look at some of our gyros and the generation you get from there. No problem. Moving on, I want to show you another Heart of Thorns hero challenge designed for groups to defeat. We're going to instead solo. This one's pretty tricky, and usually you'd want good projectile reflection for the start. So we get to get a reflect on our hammer too early on there. The first job of ours is to kill these shadow leapers. A lot of players will die killing those shadow leapers and then like graveyard rush to get the actual boss itself. But now we can try to take them out. So what I want you to pay attention to here is this is an engagement the flamethrower variant would not have been able to deal with. This boss does crazy damage in melee and will always try to move to you. So we're going to use our super speed and gyros and whatnot to keep away from the boss at all times and keep pressuring. Watch how I'm throwing my grenades. Even running full speed away from the target, every single grenade I cast is landing directly on them. I will go in for melee and hammer stuff when I break the break bar, which I can always keep vaguely low through high uptime of chill, cripple, blinds, as well as the hard C that the hammer itself offers. But pay attention to the fairly high vulnerability on our target. Pay attention to the permanent 25 might, permanent fury, and continual refreshing quickness wherever we can get it while we use our grenade stuff. So this is a really good demonstration of the grenade variant and how exactly it can run. And as I said, the flamethrower version would not have got this particular fight down, because you try and go in melee, even if you've got lots of active break bar damage, after the break bar's done, the boss will come to you and blow you up. You'll notice all you need to do is clip us for a second and does insane damage. But look at my barrier too. Look at this. Look at the sustain that I'm getting on barrier. This is not in an AoE scenario. This is just against one target, one boss. And this is the kind of thing that Scrapper can do. This is why I actually think that it's much better than Hollow as of current balance. Even through weakness, we're sustaining epic barrier here. And if something else respawns, that just kind of helps for our resustain. So just a little bit of careful footwork and positioning. All of a sudden, group events like this, they're melting through, and this is a great way to play. You notice even my food here in this demonstration is Dragon Breath buns, which doesn't help much in a single target environment. So here also I want to show you guys some kill chaining and the complete opposite. Just running through open world. Perhaps we're doing a heart here, and we want to kill lots of creatures. How quickly we can do it? Very fine. You'll actually remember at the start of the video, we blew up an Earth Elemental in Draconis Mons. Earth Elementals are pretty tanky, but we did it in like one animation. That's because when we run Grenade Kit, one of our tool belt skills is now actually useful. We get the 100 nade skill instead of just kind of a Condi thing. We'll look at specific skill interactions in a second. So it's all looking good, right? Well, when we try the Fire Djinn test, well, now things are a little bit trickier. If we're not running Flamethrower, if we're not getting good AoE break bar damage out, here I don't use the Mortar to aggro, and Mortar obviously would have been very helpful. You are going to see here how squishy this build is. And I actually, on first attempt, could not, on the grenade version, kill these Fire Djinn. They moved a bit awkwardly. I wasn't getting the damage that I needed. That torment lingers on me for a long period of time, and I'm not really shaking it off. I could use a sigil of cleansing or something, but generally doesn't feel that good. I could obviously disengage right now with a sneak gyro, as I just showed you there. I go for the re-engage just to give you guys a sense of how much pressure is coming at me. And even here with the barrier I'm trying to put up, the might and the fury, my damage just isn't there. It's because you need break bar damage to get through these. And the grenade kit is lacking in that. It has less than the flamethrower variant, and the play style lends you using hammer in some weaker ways. Also, we have less damage modifiers on this too. That'll all be explained in a second with the traits. Let's have a look at scrapper nades. First, we're going to talk about exactly how the grenades themselves work and what's kind of clunky and annoying about them out the gate. So, first of all, what's good? Well, an auto attack that has good vulnerability while we're explosives traded. A skill 2 that puts a little bit of bleed out, which with sanguinary array equals might. We'll look at that with the traits in a second. Some break bar drain on the flash grenades, or even just good blind when you're not fighting against foes with break bars, because you could be under AoE scenarios like pocket raptors, and this is mass blind. Remember, we throw 3 grenades. Each grenade can hit 3 targets, so that's 3 potential blinds. But then on 3 grenades is 9 blinds. You could blind 9 targets at once by throwing these out here. I mean, they don't really spread in the way you'd want them, but it's a thought. You've also got freeze grenades, which can help you keep the distance, and this is nice. Certainly something that flamethrower doesn't have. And even poison, diminish healing in those very rare scenarios, or unblockably actually hit through something. Again, things don't block in the open world that much. But on the flamethrower, the last few skills, or particularly these last 2, are not that great. And the tool belt skill is pretty much irrelevant on flamethrower. But now we get 100 nades, which is a massive damage burst. You know, I can walk over to an earth elemental, use the shrapnel grenade. Oh, we miss because he's seen us and he's pathing around in a really weird way. But 100 nades, and we can chunk him for a ton. There we only got 7k, but we could get a lot more. You know, so I've already got a ton of might. So that's kind of the benefit of nades. It's really about the might, the fury, the vuln, and all of the skills can do something. But here's the thing. Here's why it's not one of my top recommendations most of the time. Because every single skill is ground targeted. It's kind of annoying to execute as you run around. For me, when I'm in the open worlds, I don't really want to be trying or thinking that hard or, you know, super paying attention. If it was my first character ever, I think I'd probably be enjoying this up to a time. But when you're 10 hours in, 20 hours in, 30 hours in, believe me, this is not an enjoyable playstyle, okay? Every single skill, if you're on instant ground targets, is hold it down, find the target, actually track to them, and then throw the grenade out, right? And you just click, 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 click. It's, you know, even the auto just spam. It doesn't feel good. I use an MMO mouse, so my right hand, my thumb's just constantly going. It's even worse than that if you've just started and you're playing on default options, where you have to click once to create the ground target and then click a second time to actually throw, which is just awful. However, there is a way that you can minimize all of this busy work, and if you are really going to go all in on this build, this is absolutely what I recommend. It makes it very playable, and then possibly my favorite. So check it out. What I want you guys to do is come to your options, and there's 3 things we're going to play with. First of all, we're going to scroll to the combat and movement section, and when it comes to ground targeting, instead of playing on normal, which is too slow and very, very button pressy, instead of playing fast with instant, with range indicator, which is what I really enjoy and is, you know, probably best for PvP and so on in most circumstances, you can get the best of both worlds. We're instead going to go instant. So what instant means is you will never see that ground target telegraph anymore. It's just wherever your cursor is, the second you press the button, the grenades get thrown out and we kill the beetle. Okay, or we mouse over towards that guy and we see if we aim. Now, the downside of instant is like this. You can't quite tell what's out of range anymore. But you will get used to that. That 900 distance, this large circle that I can throw around me. You'll get used to that as you play, okay? But, you know, there's velocity of the grenades, and as targets move, in some ways you might find that makes the game a little bit richer. But here's what can kind of fix that for you. Staying in the combat and movement section, what I also want you to do is to hit snap ground target to current target. So I'm going to turn instant off for a second. And what this will do is it will mean that when we are near something, you see how we're sort of in range of the elemental? The second I get... Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. If the second I target that guy, you'll notice it locks on. And now as I move my cursor, look, it's not actually aiming anymore. It doesn't matter. Like, I just have to be vaguely in the area with my cursor, and it will latch on. So you can combo this technique, right? And even moving foes, it will move with them, right? You can combo this instant snap together. Here, you see as he moves there? This is a pretty tanky guy here. And as he moves, it's following him. My cursor is nowhere near him. This even works when you can't see the telegraph because you're an instant. They will combine. So all you have to do is just press the buttons and the game will do the rest, okay? Lastly, you can turn on auto-targeting. So this means if you don't have a target, the game will create it for you. So now, what I can do is stand near this earth elemental, and once I'm in combat with him, even running away and facing away from him, if I keep my cursor... Oh, sorry, we're not set up here. Hold on. We need to go back to instant. If we set this up, okay, snap, instant, and auto-targeting, even as I run away, as long as I just keep my cursor behind my character, we're going to be vaguely in the area of whoever we're fighting, and we're going to hit them very regularly and very easily just by pressing the button down, okay? So the one downside here... So look at that. That really wasn't any energy for me. And do you see how the game automatically started hitting this guy? I didn't really ask the game to do that. It just knew to do that as I was just running around. And here, we're targeting this guy. What am I doing right now? Am I spamming buttons? Am I doing loads of things? Actually, all I'm doing is holding skill 1 down. Like a regular auto attack. That's all I'm doing. Just holding skill 1 down. I'm holding right click down to move the camera as I go. And my cursor is actually disappearing from my visibility. But because of the options... I can pretty much be sure that the game is going to keep on this Elder Earth Elemental. I don't even have a formal target. You know, I can't see what comedy I've got on that guy or vulnerability or anything because I'm not targeting him. And yet we're hitting him. And yet we're doing the big damage, okay? And it's very simple to swap off hammer and stuff. So this is how grenades can become very fun and very smooth. It's not a top recommendation for me, though, because all 3 of those things I just suggested you do aren't good in World versus World, aren't good in PvP, aren't great in raids and fractals. They might trip you up on other classes, so do consider that. But again, that's going instant with auto-target and snap ground target. Then you can just hold down this like any old auto-attack, and off it will go. So, with the grenade skills themselves established, let's talk about the rest of the build. I will make one more note, as I did in the flamethrower video, that immediately going into this setup is nice because we get something as easy to use as a flamethrower, but a much higher range now, in a massive circle around us. You can't, like, flamethrower behind you in the way that you can grenade behind you while running. Like, see this? See how I throw grenades behind myself running? Can't do this on a flamethrower. So there are various benefits, okay? So let's talk about the rest in terms of the way this is set up. This is a lower modifier, so a lower potential peak build, but better for boon, uptime, and vuln stuff. So here, by the way, you're actually seeing on the gear, I'm running Diviners on the right-hand side, which is pretty nice, and that's helping with my quickness. But let's see. Looking at firearms, first, we do take Sanguine Array. We don't take High Caliber here. High Caliber is extra crit chance when you're close, but on grenades, you don't want to be close that much. So you can modify how much crit is on your gear if you like. But now, this is gain might whenever we inflict bleeds. We get Sharpshooter bleeds on crit. So every grenade we throw can proc Sharpshooter up to 3 times if we get really lucky, which is 3 mites. But when we look at a Grandmaster in a second, it's going to go completely crazy, okay? So Sanguine Array is a must. Next, let's keep taking No Scope. Our Fury is now worth lots of ferocity. That's wonderful. And as for the Elite, well, we don't need Juggernaut anymore. We have more than enough might, and all the other stuff is just flamethrower related. So you could take the others. I actually like modified ammunition more than anything else, just because when you're in a group and other players start putting conditions out or at a world boss, all of a sudden your damage goes really high, and swapping the Grandmaster and over just doesn't feel that good. You could take Incendiary Power, though, which means that you're doing a little bit of extra burn damage and is comparable in damage, okay? But when it comes to, like, people grouping up, as they often do, all of a sudden modified ammunition is amazing. Don't forget the grenades themselves are providing a range of conditions, which then modified ammunition means we do more damage, burn more condition. Next, we go straight over to explosives. So this time we're going to take Grenadier for our first trait. Glass Cannon is a modifier that is good, and you would have high uptime on it because of all your barrier and because of all your range, so you can run it. But when you loot, so Grenadier is the velocity of our grenades goes up and the blast radius of our grenades go up. So every grenade we throw doesn't do more damage, but it explodes in a wider area. It's more likely to be AoE. Now, we really want the grenades to be more likely to be AoE where possible, because it increases our chance of tagging an ambient creature, or it increases our chance of getting sharpshooter, or it increases our other variant elements of getting sanguine array. I find Grenadier is much better. If you turn Grenadier off, you now have to think a lot more with your slow grenades going through. Look how much slower they are now. And you saw I missed anyway, even when that Earth Elemental moved a bit weird. So now you feel like you can't take advantage of the range so much. So you're walking into melee a bit more to make sure everything lands really quickly, because you're throwing at your feet and now the velocity doesn't matter. And in that situation, well, like here, look. This is what my auto-target and stuff was doing there. Now we're missing a bit more. A lot more. Like, I actually have to pay more attention here. So, I like the velocity. It is kind of a choice for you, but I think Grenadier is very good. Blasting zone, you really don't have many blasts. This is one of the downsides here. You're not going to be comfortably blasting in your gyros anymore. Swiftness uptime is a bit lower on this variation as well, because don't forget, as a scrapper, any blast you do is super speed. So when you're on a flamethrower, and you can just spam that flamethrower blast finish out at pretty much any point, because you've always got a field around you with gyros, you can get lots of super speed. Now there's less, which is one of the reasons I favor the blast gyro here. And also there's less synergy on the idea of grenades being into gyros, right? But yeah, I like Grenadier. Next, we're going to take short fuse. So this is bomb kit trait, and we're not on the bomb kit, but it also has this other perk. Gain fury whenever you hit someone with an explosion. Now that fury lasts for 5 seconds, and you can do it every 3. Well, hold on. Every single grenade is an explosion. In fact, it's a triple explosion. So this means if you take short fuse and you go grenades, you put a short fuse in your grenades, that's it. You're permanent fury forever. You don't need any concentration. You don't need any rune help. That's it. You don't even need no scope. You could instead run one of the Condi ones if you really wanted. But no scope makes your fury stronger as well. So this is a beautiful combo. The no scope short fuse combo means you're always keeping that up. That's a massive advantage over what we saw on Flamethrower. Then finally, you've got the Grandmaster. This time we can't take Orbital Command, really. I mean, you could try, but it's fairly irregular. This time, Minesweeper is definitely not looking good. But here is really the crux of the build and the might generation. It's Shrapnel. Explosions have a chance to cripple and cause bleeding on hit. So every skill is 3 explosions. Each explosion has a 33% chance to do this. Doesn't even have to be on crit. It's just on hit, okay? So now, when we throw our grenades out, we're just stacking massive bleeds and massive cripple. Permanent bleeds, permanent cripple. Now those are great for keeping break bars low. It means, like in that footage you saw at the start of this video where I'm hitting a target, it doesn't start regenerating its break bar again after I hit it with Thunderclap or something. It will stay locked in place or shrink. If you run, say, chill application foods, then, you know, you're always going to be draining very, very, very comfortably. So that's one side of Shrapnel that's really good, but then it's Sanguine Array. Every grenade can potentially proc Sanguine Array 3 times from Shrapnel and 3 times from Sharpshooter. So every skill could give you 6 might. Every single one. That's not even talking about the 100 nades, which is throwing 6 at once. So this is why we have so much might. As long as we're throwing grenades, and we can in any direction while always moving, we're constantly buffing ourselves up. So this is a hell of a combo right here. This isn't available unless you're taking lots of explosives. Explosions. Lastly, let's look at Scrapper. I've actually just edited here because a couple of these were in the wrong position for my demonstration here. So first of all, I would justify Scrapper in the same way as looking at a Flamethrower build. For open world, all the stuff with barrier is very nice. It's got some good modifiers and nice things in there. But we are looking at it a bit more binary in a way because there's less opportunity. First of all, mass momentum. Gain might while you have stab. Well, we don't have stab anymore. That's one of the downsides. It's just not there. It's not that important for open world, thankfully, and we've got range, so that's okay. Instead, I would take super speed on your wells. This allows you to move around a bit more and just feels so good. This middle trait, the lightning field finishers, well, you don't really have much finisher combo potential. You kind of do within the shredder gyro, like you could do this and then this, and that middle trait's going to help you on these brutal belts. But in general, I think the top one's much better. Next, well, before we had all kinds of options. We could get up to 15% modifier from object in motion. Extra damage while you have stab, extra damage while you have swiftness, extra damage while you have super speed. Oh, isn't that amazing? But hold on, with the way we've set ourselves up here, we really don't have much of any of those anymore. There's some sprinkled in there, particularly the super speed at the end of the gyros, and if you're running blast, you get a bit of super speed here. It's not that great. Instead, what I actually recommend is expert examination. This is weakness on the back of CCs, which again is brilliant break bar drain, and a little bit more on the vulnerability. But even the vulnerability there is no longer that relevant because we've got so much anyway. But not maximum all the time, so this is nice. This last trait, again, damage dampener, don't worry about it. As for the Grandmaster, I would actually make the same recommendation to everyone, applied force. You're still going for the quickness, so now shrapnel gives you sanguine array, which gives you quickness, which gives you even more power while that quickness is on there, and you just try to hold it. So I'd still run applied force, and that's the way I'd set it up. That's the grenade variant. So thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the idea of this build. Please feel free to go out there, have fun on it. This is very good if you're exclusively going to be in the open world and in story missions and stuff on your engineer. Let me just say this. If there was a totally new player that I just got into Guild Wars and they said, hey, I'm playing engineer, I need a build, what do I do? This is the variant I would give them, because they're not likely to be in those other formats, they're not likely to be on other classes, and so those option swaps aren't kind of tedious to them. You can play this without the option swaps too, obviously. It's just not for many hours until it's really, really annoying, and I just wonder why don't I run a flamethrower variant that's just better. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks very much for watching, and go out there, have some fun. I'll see you for another open world build very soon.